Welcome everyone to the 195th Celebrity Synastry chart reading, where we will be looking into Rosé and Bruno Mars. If you don't know me, hi, I'm Madeline and it is so nice to meet you. On this channel, I look at the dynamic between two celebrities using astrology. For those new and returning, I take notes on a synastry chart looking at the personal planet signs aspects and of birth times available house overlays. I share these notes and add my extra insights and interpretations along the way. So if that sounds good to you, subscribe and click the bell to join us twice a week, and let's get right into this one. Starting off the sun, we have Rosé's sun in Aquarius and Bruno's sun in Libra. These are both air signs. They are good friends and they are both social and active, definitely in their careers. They share humanitarian interests and they see the other as an intellectual partner, which I feel like would be pretty good for like a colleague dynamic. Rosé sees Bruno as superficial and Bruno wishes Rosé was more affectionate. Rosé's sun overlaid in Bruno's 12th house. They are different people and it's an atmosphere of mystery. I mean, it is a bit of a different combination of people. Like, I wouldn't have thought so anyway, these two would be together. Not that I'm strong fans of these two, so potentially on like a personal level this could work. Like, it's like how when Lana Del Rey's husband, to a lot of outsider fans it made no sense, but to a lot of personal fans or big fans of hers it made perfect sense, that relationship. So it could be the case with these two, I just don't see it. But yeah, to me anyway, they do seem to be quite different people and an unexpected combination. Marriage is not possible. I don't think either of these two are in relationships, but you know, it's just to show that it's not possible down the track in any way. They don't understand each other and they have no idea why they are together. Rosé finds Bruno unpredictable and Rosé sees Bruno as exotic and strange. Rosé feels Bruno doesn't approve of her and the relationship requires a lot of patience. Rosé is attracted to Bruno against her judgment. Interesting. Bruno's sun overlaid in Rosé's 8th house. There's a strong bond and emotional dependence. Bruno is captivated by Rosé and Bruno may feel he cannot leave. I mean, if they are in like a contract of sorts, it would make sense. Rosé has the ability to transform Bruno and they both feel initially afraid of this relationship. Rosé may have come into Bruno's life when he is at the bottom, which kind of makes sense from what my knowledge about Bruno. You know, I think it was like a few months back before like the song collaboration. I think, was it around that time where there was like a lot of rumors about Bruno's like gambling problems and everything? I think it was around the same time like those discussions were held about Bruno's like personal life and then the song came out. So I assume potentially maybe that's when Rosé came into his life, when he was particularly at the bottom with that. Both weirdly enjoy the darkness and depth of the relationship. Their suns are Trine together, so there's mutual respect and they energize each other. They are supportive of each other and cooperative with each other, which is nice for a collaborative team. They can deal with conflicts in a healthy way and they accumulate wealth and luck. Rosé's sun are Trine Bruno's Mercury. There's a great friendship and good communication. Rosé accepts Bruno and they both just get each other. They do business together well, which makes sense, and Rosé supports Bruno's beliefs, which we did see in the beginning. They have a humanitarian connection, so I assume in that way, like humanitarian beliefs she supports of him. They can talk through issues together and Rosé gets what makes Bruno tick. Rosé admires Bruno's intelligence and they understand each other on a basic level. They speak to each other with understanding and Rosé allows Bruno to express himself. Rosé feels she can think better around Bruno. So if from what I'm feeling from Rosé, because we did see how Rosé feels Bruno doesn't approve of her, and just considering like the age gap and like Bruno was around in the industry for a lot longer than Rosé, I wonder if like there is a kind of like fan dynamic or even like a role model thing, like wow, Bruno's been in the industry for so long, I don't know, admire, respect him of everything. Like it seems like there is a pedestal in that way. Rosé's sun square Bruno's Saturn. Bruno sacrifices his freedom. Okay. Rosé is too sensitive to criticism, and they both attempt to support the other, which, like, it seems like we're going into a bit of a U-turn now. But from what we have seen there, it is a really nice, supportive, like, great colleague dynamic and everything. So I assume, like, their attempt to support each other actually proceeds. Rosé may outgrow Bruno, not really surprisingly so. Like, you know, probably this song was something to really get her out there and everything, particularly in like the mainstream and like along with Bruno Mars and everyone else. They both will mature, and Bruno tends to be too critical of Rosé. Rosé feels blocked and discouraged by Bruno, and Rosé sees Bruno as all the traditions she wants to overcome. Interesting. They both need to really want this relationship to work. Which, like, considering we did see, like, a lot of really nice positive things with these two, I think they would. Bruno's Sun, Trine, Rosé's Venus. There's a mutual attraction, and they both value each other. It's a harmonious relationship, and they're financially lucky people, which I assume would come from their collaborations together. They both share common interests, and they accept and tolerate each other. Rosé is willing to do anything to please Bruno. Yeah. It seems like there is a bit of a pedestal thing going on with Bruno here for Rosé. Rosé finds Bruno charming and intriguing, and Bruno feels more loving and beautiful around Rosé. Now for the intermission. This video is brought to you by me, my Etsy store, Adeline the Astrologer. If you ever watch this and think, hey, I would like her to read my Synastry chart, well, I will. I do personalized Synastry chart readings on my Etsy store. I do both basic and detailed ones. The basic ones are a bit more simple to understand and really good for those just beginning out in astrology, getting their heads around it, or just as a fun gift idea. The detailed readings are very similar to what I do here, so it's a lot of it just with my insights and interpretation on the chart. So if you're interested in that and everything else, astrology and tarot, readings and gifts, definitely check out my Etsy store for that. I'm always releasing new other things there as well. And you can even just favorite the store just to support me for free. Thank you for listening, and let's get back to the reading. So now it's on to Moon. We have Rosé's Moon in Aries and Bruno's Moon in Leo. These are both fire signs. It's competitive, and they both want to be dominant, which I think makes sense for both of them. Like, Bruno's been around in the industry for so long. Obviously, he kind of wants to continue being relevant. But also, like, Rosé wants to make her mark in the industry, so it makes sense for both of them to want to be dominant in the industry. Neither want help or support from each other. That's interesting. I wonder, because we did see how they both feel initially afraid of this relationship. I wonder if maybe they initially didn't want the collaboration. Like, from what I'm getting from this reading, obviously I'm not behind the scenes in the music industry, but just from what I'm getting from this reading so far, it seems like, you know, this relationship is kind of like very colleague-y. Potentially like helping the other grow and everything, because we're seeing how they both want to be dominant here. They both will like mature and grow in this relationship. Like, it seems like very much collaborative from my perspective anyway. So I wonder if this relationship was kind of formed from, like, presented as, if you guys collaborate each other, it will help your careers and everything. And potentially because these two naturally don't really want the support or help from the other, that is why they have those initial hesitations in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. They respect the other's individuality, and they can work well if egos get out of the way. Yeah, like, it seems like it could have been an ego thing. I don't want to help and everything, but then, you know, it seems successful. Rosé's Moon overlaid in Bruno's first house. They both feel safe expressing their feelings, and Rosé feels immediately safe with Bruno. It's a tender and warm relationship, and Rosé brings out a sensitive Bruno. Bruno's Moon overlaid in Rosé's sixth house. Both are too helpful to each other, so it seems like they got over like a potential initial like hesitation. Bruno has conflicting feelings towards Rosé. I mean, we did see, like, we are seeing a lot of like positive things, but we also are seeing how like Bruno tends to be critical. Not sure in that way. Can be beneficial if working towards a mutual goal, and it's easy to create a resentful relationship. Their moon signs are trying together, so there's a desire to nurture each other, and they are sensitive to each other's needs. it's a long-term or marriage. This, because the marriage thing, contracts, like in these ones, when I see marriage, I see contracts and everything. So to me, it makes me think it's a long-term thing. It's a contractual thing, which makes sense for Bruno, why he feel he cannot leave. This is also another very weird take on this, very out there. But from the whole, it wasn't really a scandal. It's kind of like people were kind of like, oh, Bruno might have like a gambling issue. There were like conspiracies that I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like he was having a Las Vegas residency like contract for the purpose of like paying off his debts, allegedly speaking, from what I remember from all that discussion. So I wonder, this probably is reaching too far. Would this be a part of that maybe? Like, considering Bruno may feel he cannot leave, and we did also see how Bruno is at the bottom when Rosé comes into his life. I didn't expect this reading to go this way with like Bruno's gambling issues, but like, yeah, if there is like a marriage contract, I'm going to use the word contract because that's effectively what a marriage is for colleagues, contract. But if there is a contract and like there is this thing with Bruno, like he feels he can't leave and, you know, he's at the bottom and everything, I wonder if it is related to that at all. A bit out there, but that's something I thought I'll share anyway, just with the connections being made. They share similar tastes and they feel comfortable together. They enjoy creating a home together, you know, which could be like creating a nice studio environment or something like that. Family plays an important part in the relationship. I have no idea what that could be. It could be literally anything, you know, with these two personally. I don't know if they, you know, similar cultural similarities. They feel safe together and there's a possibility of being too accommodating to each other. There's a tendency to avoid hurting each other. Rosé's moon is sextile Bruno's Jupiter. They have good fortune, not surprisingly so, and they're a popular couple. They have honest communication and likely for them to support charities, which again, we're seeing the humanitarian interest and everything. Rosé supports Bruno's beliefs. Excessiveness could be an issue and they have an intellectual understanding, which would make sense because like going right back to the beginning, we did see how they see the other's intellectual partner. Rosé's moon is square Bruno's Neptune. They misunderstand each other's signals and there's a possibility of neglecting each other, which I don't think it's that crazy. Like, it's not like they're now a duo and everything. Like, they still have their solo careers happening. It's a confusing relationship and Rosé is unsure of Bruno's intentions. Interesting. It just seems like there is like hesitation with going into this collaboration, if that makes sense. There's difficulty maintaining the relationship and Rosé is sensitive to Bruno's moods. Bruno's moon are opposite Rosé's Mercury. They have insightful conversations and they confide in each other. They both feel different and Bruno questions a lot of what Rosé says. I wonder if that's going back to how like he tends to be critical of Rosé. Maybe he's like one of those people like very, it's not necessarily done like maliciously, but to sort of like question you, make sure like it's kind of for your own benefit. I'm sure we've all met those people, like they are questioning in a way that seems to come off as very critical, but it's not from like a malicious place. It is just to like help you like articulate yourself, if that makes sense. I'm imagining Bruno's one of those sort of people maybe. Bruno's feelings are incompatible with Rosé's ideas. Bruno's moon are opposite Rosé's Venus. They both learn balance and harmony, and it's easy to take each other for granted. Living beyond means a curse. This, how do I word it? It's not like I don't wish I knew about Bruno's like issues. It just weirdly kind of seems to play a part in this. They will not appreciate each other sometimes, and Bruno may be undervalued or misunderstood by Rosé. We did see how they can misunderstand each other's signals, so I assume just basic misunderstandings like that could occur. Compromise needs to happen, and Rosé gets confused of Bruno's emotions. So again, kind of going back to the idea how she's quite sensitive to his moods and everything. Bruno sees Rosé as narcissistic and seductive, and Rosé sees Bruno as childish and needy. Bruno's moon is sextile Rosé's Mars. They are open with each other, and Rosé feels more assertive. There's a mutual fascination, and Bruno makes Rosé feel at ease. Rosé helps Bruno be more confident and bold. I think we did see that before, how she brings out like a more confident side of him. Bruno feeds Rosé's ego, which is interesting if he sees her as being narcissistic, because it's kind of like the sort of monster he created then in a way. They both learn about themselves here, and it can be tumultuous at times. I mean, the only really like tumultuous thing we've seen here is like a possibility of like neglecting each other, and there's a general difficulty to maintain the relationship, but I feel like it kind of comes with the territory of being like a musician and everything. Bruno's moon are opposite Rosé's Jupiter. The emotions can get out of control, and there's unkept promises. That's interesting and very weird, because if we're seeing like the long-term or contract sort of situation, and we did see how how Bruno feels like trapped here, and overall there seems to be like an initial hesitation of entering this, seems like on both sides. I wonder if like maybe the contract wasn't fulfilled. Like, it's hard to say with these, isn't it? Because especially it seems like it's early days for them. This could have already happened, could be down the line where there's contract breaks or something like that. That's where my brain is going, like unkept promises being related to contracts. Their beliefs are conflicted, so I assume it's in other ways, not necessarily in like humanitarian values. They're attracted to each other because the other has what they need, and they both think the other is a bad influence. Bruno may smother Rosé, I feel like, with questions, and like those sort of more critical questions and everything. Because smothering, to me, obviously you overdo it. I don't really need to define smothering, do I? But obviously, like, if Rosé feels like she's being criticized, obviously there is an overdoing of these like questions, and questioning a lot of what Rosé says. Bruno's moon at Trine Rosé Saturn. Building on past traditions is important, which is strange because we saw how Rosé wants to get over the traditions Bruno has or something like that. So it's very interesting how like past traditions is important, but also Rosé wants to break them. It's a stable relationship, and there's a potential for accumulating wealth. We're seeing again. Bruno sees Rosé as mature, and Rosé is accountable with Bruno. Rosé prioritizes domestic life, and Rosé's desire for commitment is appealing to Bruno. Rosé finds it difficult to be emotionally caring, and they can achieve mutual long-term goals together. Bruno's moon are opposite Rosé's Uranus. Bruno feels insecure with Rosé's unpredictable behavior. I'm not sure what that could be. Like, the only thing I can really think of is like if she has her own thing going on, really. There's an unusual meeting. It seems to be a bit unusual. Like, from what I'm understanding from the reading and feeling from this, like, there seems to be like a hesitation to actually like collaborating together. Rosé subconsciously sees Bruno as a parent. Again, that pedestal that Rosé seems to be putting Bruno on. It's an unstable marriage or long term, yeah, which I think would make sense, because we did see how there's unkept promises, and we did see that, long term. I should really switch out the word marriage for like contract. But it would make sense, like if there's unkept promises and we've already seen there is potential contractual agreements here. Obviously unstable contract if it's not really being fulfilled. Rosé is not interested in emotional closeness like Bruno, and the relationship can begin and end suddenly. Bruno's moon at Trine Rosé's Pluto. It's an intense meeting, and they both will need to let go of fake personas. I think we did see they both need to let go of their egos to make this work. There's a strong bond, and they both bring truth and change in social and political areas together. So again, that sort of humanitarian connection they have. They're involved in organizations together, and they can go through difficulties together. They can solve problems in their community, and they can both transform each other. So now it's time for Mercury. We have Rosé's Mercury in Aquarius and Bruno's Mercury in Libra. These are both air signs. They have abstract conversations, and they both tend to be argumentative. It's intellectually stimulating, and they share detached and objective values. Rosé's Mercury overlaid in Bruno's 12th house. Rosé has a sixth sense of Bruno. She definitely does. It's like she seems to be very in tune with Bruno and his emotions and everything, which is interesting because I think we did see she's not really emotionally invested in him. It's like she's getting like these downloads and like very like in tune with Bruno and everything, but she doesn't really want it. I guess it's kind of like an unwanted like airdrop thing, if that makes sense. Like a more like practical like analogy for it. It's like she keeps getting these like unwanted like airdrop requests. Rosé may feel overwhelmed around Bruno, and Bruno may feel violated. The intuition is strong and it can easily become a paranoid relationship. Bruno's Mercury overlaid in Rosé's 9th house. Travel, culture, and philosophy are common topics of conversation, and Rosé is impressed with Bruno's knowledge. Not really surprisingly so, she seems to admire him. Bruno gives Rosé a greater perspective on life. Like, yeah, there is a real, like, from Bruno, like, real parental type figure sort of, you know, dynamic here. Their Mercury signs are squared together, so they have a contrasting approach to life, and they need to make effort to be tolerant of each other. It's difficult to work together and difficult to have a harmonious relationship. I mean, in certain ways, like, because we did see how it's hard for them to have, like, a, you know, they tend to neglect each other and everything. So it seems like actually being present together seems to be a bit difficult to make it happen. They have difference in opinions and they have frustrating debates. They think the other is wrong and they both feel they cannot get along with each other, which could be a reason why there's maybe hesitation to actually work together. Rosé's Mercury conjunct Bruno's Jupiter. Bruno introduces Rosé to lucky connections, and there's a relationship of learning, particularly for Rosé, I imagine. Bruno encourages Rosé to expand her horizons, and traveling strengthens their relationship, which, yeah, it seems like it's one of those relationships when they're together, obviously it's good, but it is one of those where, like, when they're not together, they're really not together. It's in, like, I guess modern terminology, even like older terminology, like they're not necessarily like when they're separated, they're not really as strong when they're just texting or like calling or writing letters or whatever it may be. Rosé helps Bruno be practical, and Bruno feels his thinking is valued by Rosé. I mean, yeah, if she puts him on a pedestal, I'm sure she values it, and he senses that. There's a strong intellectual bond, and it's a favorable business partnership. Rosé's Mercury square Bruno's Pluto. They have frequent intellectual arguments, we did see before, and they both may hold on to issues for too long. Rosé is overwhelmed by this dynamic, not surprisingly so, we're seeing again, and Rosé wants to understand Bruno deeply. Rosé feels controlled by Bruno. I feel like it's more one of, not to say like, because we haven't seen anything particularly with Bruno that he is controlling. I feel like from what we're seeing with Rosé, like she has this sort of sixth sense around him. She feels generally overwhelmed. I wonder, like, maybe it is more of like an internal thing. She's allowing Bruno to control it, if that makes sense. I'm sure we've all had it, like, in our lives. Maybe just me. But I'm sure we've all had it. Like, it's not a crazy uncommon thing, I feel like, where someone unnecessarily, you know, bothers you, I guess you could say, and like has a bit more of a hold on you than you would like. And it's not necessarily like for the biggest reasons always, but it is just the thing, you're very in tune with them when you don't necessarily want to be. And in that sort of way, like, you do feel a bit controlled by them, because it's like, why do I get these downloads and everything, so to speak? Hopefully that makes sense. Like, it's more of like a, you know, Rosé, like one-sided control thing rather than Bruno actually being enforcing control, if that makes sense. Bruno wants to know Rosé's secrets, and Bruno tries to control Rosé's thoughts. Not obsessed with that, like exerting control, but it seems like Bruno does impact Rosé's like thoughts and it bothers her. Bruno's Mercury square Rosé's Neptune. They think creatively around each other, and Bruno misunderstands Rosé. They both need to be clearer with communication, and Bruno sees Rosé as abstract. Rosé feels misunderstood by Bruno, and Rosé sees Bruno as practical and logical. Bruno's trust for Rosé phase, interesting. I mean, we did see like a bit of an issue. I think it was Bruno finding Rosé like unpredictable and everything. So I wonder if maybe on her end there's like contract unfulfillments as well. Rosé feels limited by Bruno, which I think we saw in Bruno's end as well. She feels limited, sorry. So now it's time for Venus. We have Rosé's Venus in Aquarius and Bruno's Venus in Virgo. They enjoy meaningful conversations together and they want to talk about different things. Bruno values Rosé's presence and Bruno needs to understand Rosé's need for independence. So it seems like Rosé is not as like present. I don't want to say her fault, but she's the party that's not as like present and creating that distance and everything, which I don't really blame her. If she's like a bit too in tune for a liking with Bruno, I would probably create distance as well and just focus on my own thing. Rosé's Venus overlaid in Bruno's 12th house. Rosé is deeply moved by Bruno and Rosé is needy and vulnerable around Bruno. I mean, in a way she is, because like, again, that pedestal she puts Bruno on, like, she's probably a bit more vulnerable. Rosé acts different in this relationship, definitely with her intuition and everything. Obviously, I don't know Rosé, but it seems like in this reading, from what I'm gathering about Rosé, it seems like, you know, she's quite confused and overwhelmed with like how she's feeling with Bruno and this sort of like intuition she's getting. Bruno doesn't understand Rosé. I think we're seeing again. I think this has been repeated a couple times already. Rosé tries to hold on to this relationship. Interesting. And Bruno feels Rosé is too good to be true. Bruno feels insecure in this relationship. I mean, if my theory is correct, and like he's kind of going into this relationship to kind of save himself and like get him away from the rock bottom where he is, I think that understandable there would be a bit of insecurity there, wouldn't there? Bruno's Venus overlaid in Rosé's 7th house. Bruno sees Rosé as the perfect partner. I think like collaborator, because I don't think, has Bruno had like his collaborator, but you know, you get a lot of like those duos in the music industry. They're not necessarily like together anyway, or like, you know, relationship wise or like as an official group. But you know, there are people you frequently that collaborate with in the music industry. I'm not sure if Bruno's had someone like that. Like, he's had collaborations. I don't know if he's had repeat ones though, as far as I know. So I guess maybe he sees Rosé as being that potential. It's complementary and Rosé feels comfortable around Bruno. Bruno satisfies Rosé's needs and they both want to please the other. Longevity relies on Rosé's attraction to Bruno. I mean, it seems so. Purely because, you know, it seems like Rosé's the one creating more distance than Bruno. Rosé's Venus conjunct Bruno's Jupiter. It's a fortunate relationship and there's mutual attraction. It's forgiving and they travel together, not surprisingly so. They enjoy each other's company and they are generous with each other. They enjoy social activities together and people enjoy being in their presence, which would make sense why obviously their song has been so successful. Rosé is affectionate with Bruno, which I think we did see like right at the beginning that Bruno wants Rosé to be more affectionate. So I assume she is, it's just not fulfilling like Bruno's needs. She's not filling his cup in that way. Rosé's Venus square Bruno's Pluto. There's a fine line between love and hate and they both bring out each other's deepest insecurities. There's an intense fear of losing each other. Again, going back to that contract, you kind of don't want to break a music contract. I imagine, like, I have never heard any good things come from musical contracts, so I imagine it would not be fun if they like broke it and kind of like lost each other in that way. Power struggles happen and they cannot be just friends after. I mean, the way I'm interpreting this is like, it is kind of like your musical colleague dynamic. Like, it's not necessarily, like, they do seem to, you know, like each other, but I don't think, it's not even like super friendshipy to me, you know, because it seems like Rosé doesn't particularly care about Bruno in terms of like she's quite in tune with him and she kind of doesn't want that. It's like she wants like a disconnect with him rather than a personal connection. It just seems like a bit more of like a mentorship, like musical dynamic rather than like friends and everything. So I imagine like after whatever contract they seem to have together ends, it kind of is done from there. Bruno has the high power in a few ways he does. So now it's time for Mars. We have Rosé's Mars in Libra and Bruno's Mars in Virgo. Bruno tends to be critical of Rosé, we're seeing again, and Rosé defends Bruno. They compromise with each other, and Bruno gets nervous around Rosé. Rosé's Mars overlaid in Bruno's 7th house. Rosé speeds up the relationship, which again, going back to the beginning, how we saw how Bruno feels initially afraid of this relationship, I wonder if maybe, I don't know, Rosé or Rosé's team sped up the relationship with whatever contract they seem to have signed and everything. So it seems like Rosé is the one that kind of makes it happen despite Bruno's initial hesitation. Rosé is calmer around Bruno, maybe in certain ways, definitely not like in a spiritual way. Rosé wants to please Bruno and they both enjoy spending time together. Bruno's Mars overlaid in Rosé's 7th house. This is a repeated overlay, just inverted, so everything from before is further emphasized, but also Bruno speeds up the relationship. Okay, so maybe it is like not a one-sided thing, as you know, with just Rosé making it happen and Bruno just hesitating and getting pulled. So I guess, yeah, they both speed up the relationship. Potentially, I'm imagining it is with the like management of everything. Bruno is calmer around Rosé and Bruno wants to please Rosé. Rosé's Mars trine Bruno's Jupiter. They feel they can do anything together and there is healthy competitiveness. Bruno is okay with Rosé asserting herself and they have fun together. They enjoy trying new things together and they've shared interests in sports and travel. Travel's coming up again. Bruno helps Rosé get out of her comfort zone and Rosé feels more energized around Bruno, not really surprisingly so. Like she seems to feel quite like inspired and like happy to be around him. Like as a, you know, in the musical sense. Otherwise she seems a bit annoyed. Possibly a reckless relationship and they're a lucky couple. Rosé's Mars square Bruno's Neptune. Circumstances in meeting were never understood by one of the partners. Interesting. Very interesting. That's what it just makes me further think that there is like a contractual like music management brought them together or something like that rather than anything else. I don't think we've seen anything else meeting wise, have we? They need honesty to make this work, which goes back to the idea they need to like sort of surrender their egos and be actually themselves around each other. So that was the final aspect, bringing us to the end of the reading. If you are still watching, please share your thoughts below. I would be very curious to see what you guys have to say about this one, particularly if you are fans of these two. I would be very curious to see where this sort of relationship goes, because as far as I know, they've only released the one song together, but it seems like from this reading there is more to come. And if you have made it this far, please consider subscribing for more. I post these readings twice a week. And besides that, give this video a like and I will see you guys next time. Bye!